Welcome to the video. It's Thursday, October 3rd. It's 2 o'clock. I'm in my car today because I couldn't get a study room at the library. I'm by the library or whatever. I did some work in the library, but I couldn't get a study room. And so we're doing the video in a car. Hopefully next week. So when you see me on Tuesday or Thursday, it won't be in my car. It'll be in an actual room. It might be in the hotel. It might be where I'm going to be renting from. Who knows? We'll see when I get there. But, this is going to be a shorter video, probably like 30 minutes or less, because I don't have a lot of time because I'm about to move out. 3 more days. I'm moving out on Sunday. So 3 more days, really. And so I don't have a lot of time to do these videos, and I don't have a lot of time to script for videos. I was trying to script for a video yesterday, but I just didn't have the time. And it takes a while for me to script out a video, especially for myself, and especially for these really long videos. So that's why this video is going to be shorter. Today, we're going to be talking about the four major projects in my life right now. And I call them projects because I'm trying to build something. I'm building a skill. You know, I'm doing a skill and that's going to build something that betters my life. Okay. And so I really have four of them. And I have the first one, which is my YouTube. And so you guys are like the major one is my YouTube channel. Is just to continue to post videos. And I might be doing more videos the next week because now, starting next week, I won't have to come down here and waste an hour and a half or pretty much 2 hours plus food and everything just to record a video. I'll be able to do it at my home and that'll lower the resistance and it'll have better audio quality because then I can have a big microphone and everything. And so YouTube is my main project right now. My second main project is starting my business, my bookkeeping business. And then my third one is which now I have my third one is my college classes, getting my degree, getting my accounting degree, because I did pay $4,000 for that so far. I mean, I've only paid about $2,000 of it or 1,600 of it, so far because it's on a monthly plan. But it's, by the end of it, I'm going to be paying $4,000. So I want to get that degree before I have to go to the next semester and pay another 4,000. And so that's another major project. And then the fourth one, which is what I want to talk about today, that's the fourth major project, which I just recently added, which is the book. It's writing my first novel. I've always wanted to do it. I've cut back on the painting because I couldn't do it at home because I didn't have enough time. So painting will start back up because I did try painting for a little bit. But that was more for therapy for me. I wasn't really trying my hardest for it. The novel is where I'm going to be really focusing my artistic ability from. And so 10 years from now, the the painting will be useful for me. And I'll be really good at painting if I do it 1 hour a day for 10 years. But that's 10, 20 years from now. But the book writing is where I really want to focus majority of my artistic effort. So if I have 100% artistic effort for the day, 90% of it is going towards the book. 10% of it is going for the painting and maybe a little bit for the guitar playing every once in a while. Um, but main majority, so maybe 10% guitar, 10% uh, painting, and then the 80% writing. But majority of it is going to go to the writing because that's what I enjoy the most is reading books. And so that's what I think I'm going to be the best at. And also, that's going to be the most enjoyable for me because I'm doing the painting to one, just to paint for therapy and everything. I find it very calming for me to be painting, but also to increase my spatial awareness because my spatial awareness on my IQ score was really bad, and that's very important for math, but also for other things, which I know is counterintuitive that math needs spatial awareness, but it is true. And so that's why I do the painting, but it's not a full time, I'm going all in on it. But the writing will be where I'll be writing like 2 or 3 hours per day, or at least brainstorming for 2 or 3 hours and then writing maybe an hour or two. But, so that's going to split up some of my time, but I'll have like 15 hours a day really to study and do all of my major projects. So I have four major projects right now, which is my social media, which is like YouTube, posting on YouTube for comments, putting out stuff out there to the world. That's what my YouTube channel is, developing a personal brand for myself. And so that's my YouTube channel stuff, and that's my Instagram that I barely post on, and my blog, but that's really those are for those are all in one category. And then second one is my business. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now when I move to Charlotte. That's what I'm gonna be doing, because my business is a long term too. I don't expect for me to make millions of dollars in 10 years. If I can get a basic income from my business in the beginning, that's okay. Like enough to live. And then after 5, 10 years, my business explodes and then I make a ton of money. That's what I prefer than, going all in on business. And, in a year I'm making 100K, but then in the next year I'm going bankrupt because I grew too fast as a business. And so my business in the beginning will be like a lifestyle business. The business is to fund me in the beginning. And then over the long term, when I start to have more money, because I have more money coming in from that business, I can reinvest it back into the business. Of course, in the beginning, I'm not going to take the profits out until it's at a pretty profitable, rate. And so then I can start taking out money. But in the beginning, that's not going to be happening. I'm going to be operating at a loss, or I'm only going to have, if the business is only making like $1,000 a month, a month, then I'm not going to be taking that money out unless I really need to, unless there's a dire need, because I want to keep the business growing. But once it hits like 100K a year, then I'm going to start taking out that money. Or when I start to reach the limit of myself where have to start hiring employees after I hire my first employer, so then I might start taking some money out of the business. But that's the business second major project. And then the third is college. And by the end of the year, I should have my college degree over with, and then that will free up 2 to 4 hours a day. Okay, just out of the college, if I get rid of that. And I don't plan on pursuing a master's, because the only reason to get a master's is one reason is to get the CPA, but I don't plan on working under a CPA for a year. I plan on being an business owner, and I don't think you can get the CPA unless you work under a CPA for a year. So I would have to work under a CPA for a year, 2 years if I go part time with the CPA. But I plan on starting the business, so I'm not going to be able to do that. So the only thing is, so the masters is just not worth it. Um, and so I can only get I'm only going to be getting the bachelor's because I already paid for it and I think it's kind of useful. But the masters is not useful. Sorry, there's like people walking by my car. The masters is not useful for me. Okay. And I might go for a master's in something else 10 years from now, like in technology, because right now my short-term plan is to stabilize my life. And then the long-term goals I really want to accomplish that need more money, but they also need higher levels of skill and technology and everything. At least I want to go into those. And I'll talk about that in another video, but that's the long-term plan 10 years from now. But for the first 5, 10 years, it's going to be accumulating a little bit of wealth and accumulating, my fitness. That's a major focus right now, but I've got that under control. I wouldn't really call that a project, but I have my fitness, but also, my skills at writing, you know, building up skills that generate me money, at least in the beginning. That's what the thing is. So, like I said, college, I got to get that done with. And now let's talk about the novel. And last night I decided to do the novel. And, I've thought about doing a novel before, but I never got past the brainstorming stage. But I really want to start the novel. I really want to start doing the novel. And of course, it'll be free for you guys because my first novel won't be good. I don't expect it to be good. And I don't want to charge you guys for my first novel. And also, that keeps the barrier of entry for you guys reading my first novel out of the way. So all you're really wasting is some time to read my novel. And I know I also had almost decided not to write anymore because of one thing: the book market is slowing down. So the book market, a lot of books aren't being sold, especially in the fiction category. There's not many books being sold anymore because that's not the predominant entertainment source anymore. It's mostly YouTube, social media. It's videos is the main choice for entertainment, and that's what I'm doing novels for. It's not for nonfiction, giving advice or any of that stuff. That's for my YouTube channel, and that's for writing blog posts or stuff or a course maybe. But the main thing for the books is for me is for entertainment, but there's still a big market for it, but the younger generations especially prefer more videos, prefer movies, or more specifically video games more. And I'm doing writing as an artistic pursuit, and if I make money from it, that's okay. But I really am pursuing it for artistic value. And same thing with this channel is my channel is to put out ideas to the world. And it's like partly to make a personal brand for myself and build a community with the same interest as me. But also it's to put something out to the world and build up my articulation, my speaking ability, and all that. So that my writing, the main reason for it is just to do something for my artistic ability, for my creativity. And the second goal for that is money, of course. And if I get really good at it, people might start donating money for me. But my first novel, it's going to be completely free. I'm going to use it for feedback if I get good feedback on it. And then I can improve on my reading. Because reading, like I said, I don't make money from it because reading as a entertainment source is going down just like the newspapers did. Now it's not as drastic. It'll probably take another 10, 20 years. However, let's talk about that. So I'm doing it for the next 10 years. So all of my projects, college is for the next 6 years, business for 10, um, YouTube for 10, and this novel writing is 10 years. And why do I say 10 years? Well, after 10 years, I'm going to be mastery level, even if I'm only doing it an hour a day. So I'm going to be at least expert level if I don't do it every day, expert level to master level. And so I can monetize off that. But you also got to realize is after 10 years, it'll probably be more enjoyable because I've done it so much and I've improved so much. And as you improve, you develop a passion for something. So after 10 years, I'll probably develop a passion for it. And then number three, by 10 years from now, I don't know if reading as a entertainment source will survive. And what do I mean by that? At least long term, very, very long term. I don't think it will survive. And unfortunately and fortunately for me. And what do I mean by that? Well, the let's think about the scale of the technology coming out in the next 20, 30 years. Okay, AI is supposed to replace most people's jobs. It's supposed to do a ton of creative output. And what does that what does that do to people? Because the social contract is you get value from the value you create for the world. But for a lot of people, the job they do provides value for society. And in turn, they get paid. In turn, they get paid. Well, the problem becomes when most of the jobs are automated, what happens then? Do people essentially the 90% become serfs? And then does the class in America become solidified where you now can no longer climb up the social hierarchy? And what would happen is a lot of job owners would become business owners because they were forced to, because they lost their job. And so that would make business more competitive. And then, you know, becoming a business owner would become even harder. Like a successful business elite making $1 million a year off your business would become even harder because there's so many companies and competing over each other, and they're all using AI. And so what I think the future is most people will have basic necessities covered for. That's going to be have to be covered for by the government. But it won't be a good life. It'll be an okay life. And so what a lot of people will focus on is the arts, the writing, the painting, something creative, something where you have to write content. And you're not going to be monetizing for it. People will pursue making money from these forms. But most people will not be able to because you'll be competing against AIs. So most people won't be able to unless you've been writing for 10, 20 years. So I'll be able to do that because I had been writing so long. but let's say you're not able to, then, so you're only going to be doing it for to just fulfill a purpose in your soul. So you'll only be creating this stuff just to fulfill that part of your soul, because you can no longer work and now you have to fill up the hours. And the only way to fill up those hours is to either, do something creative, post something or whatever, try to start a business, but that's going to be almost impossible. Or number three is you're going to have to waste away your life just doing entertainment forever. I mean, I don't mean waste your life away, but you're just going to listen to entertainment, or you're going to do something to entertain yourself. That's not as productive. And that's where the new technology comes in. Not just AI, but also virtual reality. Because 10, 20 years now, chips will get even better because they're almost, I wouldn't even say doubling anymore. They're almost quadrupling every year because of the rise of AI plus chips, because chips are getting better every year and they're growing smaller and smaller every year. And there's another thing happening is now AIs are getting better and better, and these AIs are creating better chips. So now chip creation and technology progress is rising really fast. Sorry, there's a bug on my screen. So on my car screen. So technology wise, it's growing exponentially. So screens, cloud technology, the chips, all that, processing power is growing exponentially. And so that's what the singularity is. But I want to apply this to virtual reality. You'll have virtual reality created by AIs, because you're going to have AIs to create these worlds because they're so big. If you're doing a big open world, I mean truly open world, that's not sandbox, but you're truly creating everything in it. You're going to have massive AIs and to help you with that, but you're going to be in charge of it. And so what's the thing is you're going to have these huge worlds of, for VR, for virtual reality. And then also the headsets will get smaller. So the headsets that we have right now, we will be able to have the same precision in the lenses, okay, how well the lenses are and how well the sound is and everything. In 10 years from now, you'll have it for $10, okay? The chip wise too, the processing speed, the images in those headsets will be 10 times better for the same price. So you can get, for $10, you'll be able to get a headset that's as good as it is right now. Okay, and what do you think about the $1,000 headsets? Or let's say most people can't afford 1,000, but the $300 headsets like they have right now. How good will those headsets be? And with the advent of this, you'll have virtual worlds, because you're already starting to see that. But you'll have even better virtual worlds, and you'll have better NPCs, because the AIs will get better. And the thing is right now we only need the AIs to scale to a certain point. So you only need the AIs for NPCs in the world to only be about, let's say, 100 billion parameters, which sounds like a lot. Right now, that's a lot. But what you gotta realize is 10 years from now, that's gonna be nothing. Okay. 20 years from now, nothing. Okay. You'll be able to run the ChatGPT 4.0. Let's say you can run ChatGPT's o1 reasoning, the newest model that is almost as good as humans. Okay. I would say it's 90% to the average human IQ. Okay. Right now, you need a supercomputer. You gotta spend $1 billion to train that. You will be able to run that on your computer in 10 to 20 years. If, if, if this is the big question, if chips keep getting smaller and better at the same rate, if processing speed and processing cost, the cost to process information keeps going down like it has been the last 50 years, you will have computers who can run O1s normally on your computer. On this laptop I'm recording this video on, I will be able to run an O1 reasoning on the CPU, and it only take 5-10 seconds. Okay, but right now you're going to the cloud. So think about it in 10 years, what you'll be able to do. So you're going to have full VR headsets where you can do all this stuff, where you have full virtual worlds that look the same as regular worlds. Okay, so you know how you have motion sickness? People can get motion sickness from VR. Part of that is because the pixels aren't good enough in the lenses yet. And so you can kind of pick up from it. But the second thing is if the game is streaming to your headset, that creates latency. So how you move, it takes a little bit like 5 seconds longer for you to move. And so that creates motion sickness because your brain can't deal with it because it's never had to deal with that in the real life. But with the advent of better hardware and also so you'll have 6G. In 6G, you can have a huge data center with a huge AI that controls this huge virtual world, and you can stream it across the whole of the US, and you'll have basically no latency. And so, in terms, you won't have any of this motion sickness, or you'll eliminate most of the motion sickness that a lot of people get from virtual reality because you have to adjust for it. So, all these things are coming up to virtual reality technology. There are only two things that are holding it. There's only the thing holding it back, which is, you know what it is? It's haptic feedback. Okay. Because you have to have another thing too. We're now being able to use AIs to read people's minds. Okay. And you might say, well, no, that's technology is way further away. No, we have AIs who can do that, but it's in a big machine. Okay. Because the technology is in the beginnings of it. But for 10 years from now, with processing speed going down and everything, you could have a little chip that can analyze your mind. And then you have a headset that analyzes your brain waves, and then the AI in that little chip that's the same size as the ones that are in huge machines who are on the cloud with a billion parameters. You can now fit those billion parameters on a chip. And then guess what? That chip is just to read your brain waves. And now guess what happens? You now have all the controls for your video game character. Okay, it's like putting a chip in your head, but you just have to read the brain waves. And as these AIs get bigger and bigger, they get better and better. So maybe 10 years from now, you have a big machine block thing that you step into when you're starting on VR, and that reads your mind. And that big machine has 20,000 chips in it, but each of those chips is 1 billion parameters. By then, you can pretty much read someone's mind. It will get that good because we know scaling hasn't decreased yet. Okay, we haven't hit a limit to scaling on these AIs yet. So if you have 100 trillion parameters on an AI model, how big it is, it's basically can read someone's mind really easily if you scale that up. But right now, that's uneconomical. That would cost trillions of dollars to create. But after 10 years of, you know, chips costs almost quadrupling down and decreasing the size of it and the cost of it, you'll be able to do that. Now, it will cost maybe $1,000 for one of those machines. However, after another 10 years, that machine will cost $100. Okay. If we continue with scaling laws, all we have to continue is with the decrease in chip cost and the speed of them, and that's it. And you do that for 50 years, you know, and that will be able, all this sci-fi stuff will be able to be, will happen. Okay. Unless there's a big war that sets technology back 100 years, this is what's going to be possible. Okay. If the benefits of AI and these chips spread out to the rest of the society. So it's not like the top 1% are hoarding everything. No, but after 50 years at the max, this is what it's going to be. But in 10, 20 years, VR, that's what's going to happen to VR. And so the only thing holding it back right now is haptics, because haptics is really hard. And what haptics is if someone hugs you, you can feel that on your body. So it's your sense of touch. It's all the different senses can be haptic. Right now, we've all pretty much solved the eye level for haptics. Think about the new Orion glasses by Meta, with Mark Zuckerberg. He's been talking about it and everything. The Meta glasses or whatever, the new ones, Orion smart glasses that are only for certain customers or whatever that he's shown off that almost look like glasses. They're a little bit bulkier than glasses, but I would recommend you check them out. But they are That's how close. That's the only thing holding us back is we can now read your mind, but we can't put back stuff into your mind. Okay, we can't confuse your senses to trick you into thinking something's different. So I can't trick you into thinking I'm not in my car right now. I'm in my home. In my home. I'm instead of at my house, I'm at the mall or whatever. You can't trick me into thinking I'm in the mall. Subconsciously, I know I will not. However, we've been able to trick our eyes, or almost enough, because there's been latency issues. However, everything else is a lot harder. So the haptic suits, touch wise, heat wise. So, like, if you touch a stove, you can feel the heat, or you're almost about to touch a stove, you can feel the heat. Well, that's all haptics. And so you have to have technology that kind of tricks your mind into thinking, oh, that's real. And then you use your eyes and you can trick yourself into thinking you're somewhere else when you're not really there. But that's the only limiting factor. And Elon Musk, I think, wants to use neurochips in your brain to do that. And I don't know how well that is. But that's the only thing setting it back. But 10, 20 years from now, if we have AIs that can read our mind, and the only difference is we don't have full dive VR. So it's not 100% immersive. That's okay. That's still going to be the most popular entertainment source of all time. Like, you can't realize that. Do you know how addicting it will be? Okay, especially as people become more and more isolated. 10, 20 years from now is going to be the VR revolution. When, computers, also you got to realize is it takes a lot of computing power to hold these big, massive worlds. And so that's why a lot of companies are going to streaming options where they stream the game to your computer and then they have a huge big data center to hold the game. Because your regular computer can only handle so big of a game. But 10 years from now, your one laptop can hold one of those games that, are right now, one of those big MMOs that are coming out and everything. Whatever it is, just think about how big it is. And, the big data centers will be even bigger and they'll be able to hold bigger games, which is why I'm saying you're going to have huge MMORPGs. I'm not kidding you. That's what's going to be to the revival of MMORPGs, because right now those are the two bottlenecks is the computing power and um the haptics and the controls. So you have to use a mouse. See, this is why I've never liked playing video games that much, because I'm not immersed into it, because I have to move a mouse to move a character and do this stuff and everything, or to use a controller. I'm not immersed. But what if you could put a headset on me and I could play a game and fight someone and move my arms and legs and everything? That's good enough for me. And that's immersive enough. Of course, it won't compare to 100% immersive, but that might take another 50, 100 years if it's even possible. However, in the short term, what we know is possible so far is virtual reality, big worlds, controlling it with your mind, the character, and maybe having a little bit of haptic feedback. Not a lot, just a little bit, like 10% immersive. But that's able to change the world completely. Like, people do not understand how much of a difference that will make in entertainment. And so that's why I say reading's going to go away. However, that's 10, 20 years from now. And that's partly why I do exercise, because what you got to realize is as these things become more and more haptic based and haptic feedback based, how well you control your character with your mind is partly going to be how well you control your own body. What's your body control like? Especially if you have full dive VR. Some books talk about that, like, or some fiction novels who go over the scenarios with VR talk about that. And so one of the things could be is we could see a revival of gyms because people are going to be fighting in VR. So what you got to realize is this: with the increase of haptic feedback, what's going to be happening, and AI, you're going to be able to have virtual arenas where you fight people. And it's going to be just immersive that it's going to be not as good as the real version in real life, but without the risk. So you can learn boxing without having to risk the concussions and the brain damage. And you can fight sword fighting and not risk dying. Okay. So What do I mean by, well, so while it not might not be as immersive, people are still going to do it. Okay, there are already VR boxing gyms, virtual boxing games or whatever in fighting and everything. But this is only the beginning, and there's still problems with it. Like I said, the latency, the computing power, the lenses aren't good enough. They still need a little bit more refining and more processing power and everything. And also, haptics needs to get better. Control of your mind and controlling the character has to be better instead of just using a controller or waving your arm. But we're already starting to see the effects of that. That's why you have like the motion capture on the headsets with the Apple Vision, where you can use your fingers and gestures to control the screen that you see on the Apple Vision headset. And, even on the Quest 3 that's coming out and everything. And, there's also the Orion glasses where you have like a ring that you can use to control gestures and use your finger to control the screen. Those are all the beginnings of controlling your avatar in the game. But eventually, you'll have these AIs that get better at mind reading. You'll be able to use those on a headband. So let's say you wear a headband that monitors your brain waves and your electrical systems in your brain, and then that controls the character. And so, what you got to realize is that means fighting will be way more and more popular because a lot of people don't like to fight partly because of the pain. So you'll be able to get rid of that. But also, number two is the sense of death. If you're going to fight a sword fight with someone, it's very dangerous. You could die if you're not wearing armor. For fencing, they don't use real blades or they're not really sharpened. But I'm talking a real fight. And also, you got to realize is what if you want to be an MMA fighter and you want to go professional, but you can't risk, you know, brain injuries. Look at all the brains of people who did MMA for 30, 40 years, who were professionals, and how they got Alzheimer's. Look at all the pros. But what if they could fight and never have to risk that? It would be huge. That would be the next sport. And also, you got to realize is this: what if you can use superpowers in the virtual reality game? Then you can make games around it. You can do soccer with powers or whatever it is. And that's the thing. As long as it's almost immersive, if there's only a little bit of haptic feedback, that's fine. But if we have full control of the avatar with our minds, and then we also have better lenses and more immersive technology, that is enough. That is enough for a full revolution, at least in entertainment. And so I'm doing that's why I'm doing the reading and I'm doing the writing and everything to build that up. That's why I'm doing fitness too, partly for body control, because I think that will be useful in the future when we have like VR tournaments, VR fighting tournaments. And so just know really um it's really important. That's a 10 years, 20 years timeline from me now. And so what you got to realize is all that stuff. This is all long-term games for the next 10 20 years. Okay, and why is this important for me? Because I think for me 10 20 years from now is when I with the advent of VR technology, with the goals I have in mind, that's what I will really enjoy. And so I'm hoping for that era. That's the era that I want to come is the VR technology where you can see immersive worlds, you can fight people, you can have competition and everything. And so that's why I prefer the technology that we develop faster is the VR technology instead of the spaceships and everything, instead of SpaceX and all that. I care about that and everything because I think it's a good goal and I want to do that. And I think we should increase, money into space travel and everything, but especially for resources. But that's not the goal for me. I really think the world should focus on VR technology. And I think that would be really cool. So you can live out all your dreams and everything and you can fight millions of people and, huge multiplayer battles and everything and you can lead hundreds of players in a guild or whatever to fight this boss and it's immersive and everything. Wouldn't that be really cool? And so that's why I'm doing the writing. That's partly why I'm doing the writing, and that's what my book is about. It's a book about VR technology and how the world would change with VR technology. And it's a fiction book, of course. And so I know I went off on the four major top projects in my life, but those are like the 10-year goals. Okay. Tentative 10-year goals for 10 years. I hope in the next 10 years, by 2034, okay, all that technology, what I say, comes true because the timeline looks like it's coming true. I hope war doesn't devolve the technology, rate of progress in technology, or any of that stuff happens, or a nuclear war happens with that. Because if everything goes well 10 years from now, I will have set myself up into a good place where I can, you know, welcome the new era of technology, okay? That's going to be happening because I'm not just, that's just the world of VR. I'm not talking about, you know, the other implications of AI, like universal basic income, how most jobs will be automated. Like I haven't gone in depth on that. Okay, I could talk about how longevity medicine will come out, where I can probably live another 100 years, so I might live to 200 if I don't get in a car accident or something. Or it could be another thing I could talk about, whatever it is, technology wise, but that's the future of 10 years from now. If everything goes well, even if we have the same AIs and they only double, let's say in, parameters, let's say they only double, or the improvements they only double. So let's say what ChatGPT was to ChatGPT 3 to ChatGPT 4. If there's another leap from what they have right now, O1 reasoning, and they just put that in virtual worlds, that would completely change entertainment. And you can't deny that, especially for when the my generation is mostly young, who are my generation, who's Gen Z, is mostly lonely, isolated. There aren't many third spaces anymore, and VR could do that. And I think VR will take over that space and everything. And so that's that's why I have these four major projects. Okay, and so that was just a little bit of a rant. It's been 37 minutes. This is a shorter video. That's it. This is goodbye. Have a great day. I know the lighting isn't good. Have a fantastic day. This is it. Tell me about what your future predictions are for the rest of the world. I know some of you watch the end of this video, some of you don't. What are some predictions you have for this, for the world in 10, 20 years? You know, what is it? Something that is viable, not something that's out of this world crazy, like we're going to be able to revive the dead or something, but something with nowadays technology, AI, solar, not. So don't talk about nuclear powered because we don't know for sure if fusion will work, but just what will happen? What do you think will happen with AI, with virtual reality, with the Orion headset, the Orion glasses that Mark Zuckerberg just showed off? What do you think? That's been getting a lot of attention. What do you think the world's going to look like? Give me some bigger implications. Maybe I'll use that in my novel or whatever. Whatever it is, give it to me. What do you think the future is going to be like? I'm just curious because those are my predictions for the future. That's it. Have a great day. Have a fantastic day. This is the ending of the video, 38 minutes. I believe in you. I'll see you next Tuesday. At that time, I should be in a hotel looking for a place to rent. So you will have a place. I'll do it in my hotel room. I'll do a video in my hotel room, doing a tour of it. It's not going to be a good hotel room, but I'll do a recording of that. I'll see you then. Goodbye. Thank you for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you watched all the end and you're not a viewer. Why not hit that subscribe button? That's it. Goodbye.